Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming.
So I want to start by asking how Tracker came about. I know you're friends with Ken Olin from This Is Us, but can you track the journey from there?
Sure, I better be able to. So we were, Ken and I became acquainted with each other and friends on the show This Is Us. So we did for 6 years together, and he directed, I think, like 30 or 40 of those episodes, a lot of those episodes, and we became pretty close. And then we were wrapping the show up, and it was bittersweet. It was like one of those things where we knew it was coming to an end when it started. We knew we had a 6-year run, and then when we got towards the end of the run, these questions started to pop up, like, what next? We've been doing the same thing for so long and enjoying our lives and loving it. What do we do next? And Ken and I kind of decided that we wanted to try to do something together beyond This Is Us, because we had so much fun together. And we just started reading and, coming up with ideas and, going back and forth. And Ken actually found this book that he had read called The Never Game by Jeffrey Deaver, and then sent it to me. I've read it and I loved it, and I loved the book, and I fell in love with the character. And it was something that I remember thinking, I don't know if I've really ever seen anything like this before. And then we brought it to our studio, and they were behind the idea. And then everything kind of fell into place, and then we ended up getting a pilot, and then. How those things work, as you know, is like you never know. You have to find an audience. We ended up finding an audience because the network was so gracious in their promoting the show and all the press that they did and the publicity they did for the show. And the studio's been wonderful, and the rest is history. And then we owe the rest to you all, to the people that are watching. It's been wonderful.
What made you want to be an executive producer?
I like power. And control, and I didn't realize that until recently, and then I was like, I should produce as, I think it's sort of, for some people, it's a natural progression, really. I think being there at the inception of the show, the project, and sort of building the character, because the character comes from a book, but the character is, if you've read the book, the character is a lot like the book, but a lot different than the book as well at the same time. So just sort of all those conversations and all those hours and all that stuff you put into that. I just thought it would be really cool to build something from its inception all the way through and see it through to the final project, and right or wrong, just kind of have my stamp on that and learn from it. And by the way, the show is successful, but by no means does that mean we haven't stumbled and fallen and gotten up, and we continue to do that. We challenge each other, and Elwood, our head writer, everyone is constantly challenging each other and doing that. So it's more. I joke about the power. It's not at all about that. It's more about, it's just another creative outlet for me. I love writing. I love directing, and this was something that, being on set every day, I don't necessarily have time to write. I may not have time to direct. I don't know, maybe. But I have time to do this, right? Because it's all encompassing. So it's sort of like just another creative outlet for me.
Have you surprised yourself with creative, avenues that you're really passionate about, now that you're an executive producer?
Well, I didn't know that I didn't know whether or not I would like this, the producing part of it. I always admired and revered and respected great producers that I've worked with, how they're able to, look, I mean, a lot of times they're not on camera and they're not directing, but they're influencing the project in such a positive way, an artistic way. They have I've always just really admired that and sort of watched that from a distance and thought, man, if I ever had a chance to do that, that would be really wonderful. So I guess that's what it is just not surprised, but kind of a relief that I actually like it. And also a relief that it worked, because I think if you stumble out of the gate, that's like, it's harder to, not to say that I wouldn't, but it's harder to get back up and do it again. And now I'm sort of inspired to do more and more and more television, produce more television, because there are so many really wonderful actors out there and writers and stories to tell that haven't been told and that are compelling and wonderful and heartbreaking and important, and there's room for them, there's time for them, and to get behind that and feel that passion and that love that I have for it is something that sort of recharges my battery.
How does being an executive producer on Tracker impact your day-to-day on set? Do you
Well, it's interesting because I have, I don't like, that would be a really good question to ask the crew. But I think, man,
You're in every scene, so it's
right.
a lot.
Yeah, sorry. I will try to do better. How does it impact,
Do you wear both hats at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Or you
that's
take one
that's a
off,
really good
put
question.
one on.
I try never to wear both hats at the exact same time. I feel like if I'm acting, I'm only acting.
Okay.
And I think that's important. And the team that I have around me, they understand that, and my philosophy behind that, and my reasoning behind that, and everything. I just feel like the word multitasking is a little bit. It drives me a little nuts because there are people that are better at multitasking than others. But if you're multitasking, you're not doing anything 100%. Can we agree on that? I mean, I'm not a math genius, but right. Okay. So it's like I have brothers and sisters, and I know when my parents had me alone by themselves, they were way better than when they had all of us. And it was like they were dividing their time. I knew it. We all knew it. But no, but to be honest, I think my philosophy behind that is, our show is, for all intents and purposes, an hour long, right, with commercials and everything. So you're asking people to stop what they're doing, whether they watch it on Paramount Plus or they watch it live, whatever they do. They're stopping what they're doing. They're watching you, and you're asking them not to fall asleep, and you're hopeful that they pay attention, and you want to entertain them, and you hope that they go, man, I can't wait till next week's episode. I can't believe it's over already. Oh my God, it's already been. That's what you want, right? So if you do that, if you want that, and you're an actor on the show, and like you said, I'm in not every scene, but most of them. I don't know how you can expect that from the audience if you're not giving 100%. And I don't know how you give 100% if you're doing 2 or 3 things at once. Some people do it. Some people are great at it. I don't know if I'd be great at it. I don't know. I might be shooting myself in the foot there because I would love to direct an episode of Tracker as well. I will warn you all, that's the one that you can fall asleep during. But you know what I'm saying? I just, for right now, I think especially we're still building the show. It's still kind of a young show. I just want to be there in that particular capacity 100% while I'm doing that.
One episode of Tracker with no Coulter Shaw, so you can direct. You can challenge Elwood.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. No, we can't do that, can we?
No, I don't think you can, but
then people start to realize we can do it without Justin, and then they'll be like, "This is the last time.
Right.
This is the last anyone's ever seen me in public. Would be tonight."
I don't know if anybody could fall asleep during an episode of Tracker, though. There is so much action. It's very action-packed, so It never gets boring. How do you train for all of those action scenes, and how long do they take to rehearse?
I train very carefully. We have a really great... I try to keep myself in decent shape. My whole life I've tried to do that. I just think it's good for like sort of like a meditation thing for me. It's where I can kind of check out, and it's almost like sometimes people drive, and they'll turn their radio off and their phone off, and they'll be like, I'm on the road, I'm driving. And I get it. It's like your time to, have your own moment. I tend to do that in the gym or on a run or something. As far as the fight rehearsals go, I try to do all the stunts. And the way we're able to do that, I just think it's better for our directors if they don't have to work in cuts around me. If I'm there, if it's me, then they can shoot the shot that they want, that they envisioned, without having to worry about cutting around the stunt double's face, right? So that's my reasoning behind that. And then also, our stunt team, not to say that they don't do anything, they do everything. So they will they'll do the whole thing. They'll spend a whole week doing the fight sequence, right? So no one gets hurt and all that kind of stuff. And then they put together a video for me, and it's actually kind of like a movie. They cut it and everything. They edit it. They show me the shots that were going to be, and I'll just watch it, and then they slow it down, and I watch it over and over and over again while I'm on set. And so the fight rehearsal kind of happens the day of, believe it or not. But I've already seen it, and it's in my body, and I've probably done it in my trailer just by myself. I probably look like a psychopath. If there was like closed circuit television in my trailer, it would be like, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, I try to watch that as many times as I can to be familiar with it, and then on the day, you kind of have it in your body already, and then you do it a few times, hopefully, and all is good.
I want to take it back pre-Tracker a little bit. What was your first professional acting gig, and what?
Professional?
Yeah. Well,
No, I can talk about this. It's not. No, what was it? Was you sick people?
First acting gig that came to your head, I guess.
No, it was totally okay to talk about my first acting gig. I haven't done anything that terrible. What? What did you see? What? Oh, Bad Moms. Yeah, that wasn't terrible. That was great. It was interesting. You're right. Well, they can both be the same. My first ever professional acting gig, I think, was a commercial. I think this is true. Was a commercial that I did for. It was a beer commercial for Michelob Golden Draft or Miller High. I don't remember the exact. I think it was Michelob Golden MGD. I think it was or something. And my job was to go in, and this is really, really dated, and this doesn't. It does not. This would never happen now. So I guess this really was bad, actually. But I was to go to a bar, and I was this guy that would go to a bar and like try to pick up girls, right? And not any particular girl. This guy was just desperate as hell. He was just trying to pick up any girl that would like look at him or whatever. And it was some and then some slogan and something about it was a funny little commercial or whatever. And the director had me. Every take, there was no dialogue. He goes, every take, just do something different. Just ad lib every take. Well, these takes were like a minute and a half long. And so I had to, we did this for like 6 hours. And so I did, I don't know how many, I mean, 60 takes, 70 takes, and they were all different. And I had to make up all this stuff on the fly and kind of try to be funny. And some of them were and some of them weren't. And I was really proud of a few of them. And I was like, oh man, I think I'm really funny. I was really great. I'm finding out like this. I didn't know I was this funny. I'm kind of brilliant. And I was really feeling good about myself. And then the commercial got picked up, and it was a national commercial. And I'm telling all my friends, I'm like, watch this national commercial. I'm pretty much made it by this point. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it might even be on during a basketball game. And the whole thing was just a song and my mouth going like an idiot. They took all the dialogue out, and I was just an extra. I was just like an extra in this thing. But I had already told everybody that I was going to be in this thing. And so I was at a crossroads here. I was like, do I admit that do I just tell everyone what happened, or do I say, oh, there's another one coming out and dig in deeper? So I realized in that moment that two things: that I had not made it, and that I should just keep my mouth shut, and just let the work speak for itself. Because if I'd never said anything to anyone, I don't think anyone would have even noticed that I was on that commercial, right?
My follow-up question was going to be, what did you take from that experience that you
I took that,
today?
Yeah, to keep my mouth shut. And I found myself on a stage with lights in my face. I don't know how this happened. No, but typically, I think mind your own business and just put your head down and do your work, yeah, and don't talk so much. I think that's probably the takeaway from that.
Somebody in here is going to look up that commercial after. I think I have to look up that commercial now after.
Do it. I think I get residuals on that commercial. If you look it up, watch the whole thing. You'll see I don't say a word. But my
many people probably in this room and all over the world know you from This Is Us. What did that experience mean to you personally and professionally?
Everything. I was at a time in my life, in my career, where I had a very young daughter. I had gone, if I'm being totally honest, I had gone from show to show that shot in Vancouver, some like films would shoot in Atlanta. I was traveling all over the place for these parts, which is the life of an actor, of course. And I missed her, and I started to realize kind of as it was happening that if I don't do something now, it's too late. She's growing up, and I'm gone, or I'm home and I'm looking for a job. I'm preoccupied with something else. And also, I think professionally, I had done a lot of pilots, or several pilots that didn't go, shows that were, come on and do 3 or 4 episodes, come on and do 6 episodes. And I was becoming this journeyman actor, which is great. It's a wonderful life as well. But again, I was going to miss my daughter's, her childhood. And even if I got a job, outside of Los Angeles, I'm gone. And, then I come home and she's grown up, and now what, right? So I got really lucky I got a call from this someone they were over at Young and the Restless, this daytime soap opera that's still on, by the way. It's been on for like I think like 900 or 1,000 years or something. And I still have a ton of friends over there. They're great people over there. But I got this opportunity to be on that show, do a really great character, Adam Newman, who was sort of like the Eric Braden's. I got to work with Eric Braden and all that, and be in Los Angeles and work as an actor during the day and do these outrageous, outlandish stories, but act and also come home and be with my daughter. And so I decided I was going to do that for 900 years. This is what I'm going to do. This is perfect. And then I get a call from my friend Michael Rady, and he goes, "Hey, have you read this? Do you know Dan Fogelman?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "How long have you known him?" And he goes, I said, "Well, I don't know him personally. I know of him." And he goes, "I think he wrote you in a script in a pilot I just read." I said, "You're kidding." He goes, do you know about it?" He goes, "It's Untitled Dan Fogelman Project." I said, "I don't know anything about this. This is crazy." And he goes, "I'll send it to you." So he sent it to me. I got the script, and I probably shouldn't say it had his name on it, like Michael Rady on every page. I'm reading this thing, and as I'm reading, I get to like page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and I'm like, "Oh my God, he absolutely knows me. That Dan Fogelman knows exactly who I am. I'm Jack Pearson." And it's so obvious to me that I'm Jack Pearson. It's like this. I have to play this part. It's unbelievable. And I'm like, this is the best thing in the world. And I'm flipping through. I get to page like 13, 14, 15, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm Kevin." Everybody thinks I'm Kevin. What is going on? This is terrible. Do people really think this of me? And then as I got to the end of the script, I realized, because the character had evolved by the end of the pilot enough to realize what he was doing. And I thought, this is perfect. As I called my agent, I said, "I have to get in a room, just figure this out." And I had an out with the soap opera, and I went in the room, and I had a different take on the material. And Dan liked it, and John and Glenn liked it. They directed the pilot, and I was lucky enough to get it. And then the cast that they built for the show was incredible. So I got to work with these incredible actors every day. And then I met Ken Olin, and now we have Tracker. So it's all kind of the same group of people, really.
Mm-hmm. This Is Us had a great ensemble. Tracker also has a great ensemble. What have you learned about early on developing a good chemistry with a cast to make sure that everything works?
Well, I mean, I think it's about a lot about attitude. We have a lot of all of our actors, and including our guest stars on Tracker, actually, they all come in with this great attitude that it's sort of all about the baby being the show and the story, and how we're gonna make the greatest episode of television that we possibly can, given the circumstances, right? And I go, well, okay, so here's the story, and I get all excited about it, and then I see the excitement in their eyes, and Fiona's always really excited to come to work. She's got tons of energy. And then you just kind of go from there. All of our guest stars that come in have tremendous amounts of energy, and they're all so enthusiastic and so excited to work. And to be able to work with actors who have worked a ton in their career, but are still so enthusiastic to be on set and not only enjoy the work, but also realize how lucky they are to be on a set. It's magic. And I think that's sort of like the feeling that we have on Tracker, and also it kind of reminds me of what we had on This Is Us. I think everybody knows how important it is and how special it is, really, to be working.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you mentioned your time working on a soap opera as well. That is a very high volume, very quick turnaround. Mm-hmm. How did that develop your work ethic as an actor and prepare you to be an executive producer?
Yeah, well, that's sink or swim. That is sink or swim, because it's that feeling of, and we've all done it, or at least I have, where you go to bed, you're in high school and you go to bed and you have a quiz tomorrow and you're not ready for it. And you're like, well, I'll wake up early and, cram for it. And you don't. And then you have that feeling where you're like, I still have these nightmares sometimes where I will, it's not really nightmares. It's kind of like a cool trick that my brain plays on me. I don't even know what it is, but I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, I had skipped class for 3 weeks or something, and then I was trying to sneak in the back of the auditorium room. It's weird, but I think that is a sink or swim thing. And I always remember, when you speak of work ethic, I always remember, and some of my friends are here tonight, and they can attest to this as well. There would be nights that there's some great things would be going on, really fun stuff, where there'd be like a playoff game or people getting together or a dinner or whatever it might be, and I just couldn't. I just had to stay home because I had a mountain of dialogue to memorize, and I know that I'm not going to get a peaceful night's sleep if I know that I'm not prepared for the next day. And I know that if I stay up a little bit later or whatever, I'm not a big crammer. I like to have everything. I typically will have the script memorized before we shoot the first frame of the episode. I mean, like all the dialogue, like everyone's. Yeah, it's annoying to some people because I know their dialogue. And I'm like, if I know mine and I know yours and I know his, then don't you can know yours, only yours, right? But that's what it is, right? It's if you love it, it's not really work. It's and it's also never really ending because when you think you know what's going on in a scene, you're probably just getting familiar with it, actually. So if I had another day with a script on track or another week, I mean, it's not possible, but that would be amazing if you just had another hour with it, you know?
So we have some questions from people in the audience.
Uh-oh.
They've got some questions for you. This person is an actor as well, and they're saying that they have a tough time sometimes taking jobs that don't necessarily creatively fulfill them, and they're having a tough time seeing the bigger picture, and they're wondering if you have any advice for that moment.
Can you repeat that again?
They're struggling with taking jobs that don't necessarily creatively fulfill them, but would pay the bills. Yeah. And they're wondering if you have any advice for how to stay inspired and creatively fulfilled during those times.
Yeah. Well, the key word being bills. Honestly, I mean, I think part of the work of an actor is to figure out a way to continue working as an actor. And so sometimes it's a means to an end, and sometimes the journey to being able to act and be a professional actor and do that and have that be your full-time job, and that's what you do for a living, and that will be what you do for a living for the rest of your life, sometimes comes with being able to pay bills until you get there. And so if that's part of the journey, I wouldn't ever sacrifice your integrity or your whatever your morals might be. I wouldn't sidestep that ever. That's just me. But if it's about, gosh, I don't even drink Mountain Dew. Fuck. I gotta sit up here and drink this Mountain Dew or whatever. I think you can get over it and just be like, yeah, but you can buy a shitload of Mountain Dew after you do this commercial, and maybe it'll allow you to work for a little bit longer and stay in the business as long as you possibly can. Sorry about the language, but I was in her head, not mine. That was her mouth. But if you are able to stay in the business a little bit longer because you made a little bit more money and you can pay a few more bills a few months down the road, maybe an opportunity will come along 3-4 months from now, 3-4 years from now. And if you didn't take those jobs, you would be out of the business because you simply couldn't afford to stay in the business. So maybe look at it that way. That's sort of what I did for years and years and years. And I don't think it's false. I think that's I think it's a cold reality of the business, right? This isn't something that, there are 1,000 positions and 2 people want to do it. It's quite the opposite. So that's how I would look at it.
I like that. Was there a moment or piece of advice you received that took your acting to the next level or allowed you to have a breakthrough in your career?
Oh, so many. And I have them all the time. I think every time I watch a cut of the show that I'm on, I have a few breakthroughs. And I mean that. I think I go, and I don't beat myself up over it. I did the best that I could in that moment with whatever I had. That was everything I had, right? Left it all out there. But when I do look at some stuff, sometimes I go, okay, if I get that opportunity again, now I know what I'll do. Or that would have been cool if. There's a couple things that happened. There are many, many different ways to skin a cat, right? Is that the phrase, skin a cat? I don't even know why that's such a gross. It's just weird. I'll look it up. but also there's something you take away from that too, which is that must mean that you've learned from that, since that moment. Because if you watch that from something from like 3 weeks ago and you go, wow, I'm blown away. I can't even believe I did that. I'm so impressed with my work there. Then maybe you're not really learning, I mean, you should always be getting better, right? So maybe that's something to take away from it as well. Mm-hmm. But I learn every day from my work. I mostly learn from my friends, and my family, just things that I hear, things that I see them doing, and things that I have not thought of. And they're constant, people around you, they're constant reminders of how much we're not paying attention that maybe we should be. It's just constant. It's lovely.
I thought you were going to say they give you advice on your work. Like, oh, what if you made this?
Sometimes they do. Yeah, I try to block that out. Yeah, what if what's funny is like that happens a lot. Family members will come, they'll be like, you know what? I saw your show. It's great. I was thinking, you should tell somebody this because I'm pretty sure I'm right. You should be Batman. And I go, I'll pass it along. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that. This is incredible. Man, I wish you would have told me sooner. It's nuts. It's just really it's really incredible that this happens. It still happens. Not necessarily Batman, but all these things are like, you should do that. I'm like, yeah, I should. I wish I would have thought of that. I should have been Bruce Willis. I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of that.
How did the running gag with you and Stephen Colbert come about?
He started it. And I'm sticking to that. I don't know what that man's problem is. I didn't even know it was going on. I didn't know that was going on. And then somebody showed me something and I was like, oh, that's so funny. And I was like, what is he doing? And then he did it again. And then he did it again. And I was like, oh, he's making fun of me. And then he's lovely. He is a really, really bright guy and a super sweet man and funny as all be and gracious and kind and just talented. And then we ended up, I don't know who put it together. Maybe his writing team or something put it together. And I ended up I was in New York. I was going to New York for some press and they came with this great idea that I would show up and we would beat the hell out of one of his janitors or something. I don't know. But it was bizarre, but it was fun. And I think we should do it again.
Yeah, I think so too. Again.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
That's how we promote our seasons. Right, is I go on Colbert and we do we'll do a stakeout. Yeah. Stephen Colbert will always
Somebody call Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
Oh, he's watching.
He's watching right now. Okay, my last question for you is what is fulfilling you creatively right now? What avenues are you looking to pursue that maybe you haven't yet?
I'm in the middle of this. I have a production company, and so I'm in the middle of a bunch of different building different television shows, which is quite a big process. And right now we have several shows that we're building, all different genres. So we're trying to get those up and going and cast them and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much my thing. I'm also really into Tracker season 3 and where we're going to take the show.
Where are you going to take it?
We have a very good plan. We have a very good plan. It's basically like, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what happens. I'll tell you the end. No, but we have a bunch of different ideas for next season. Like I love the idea of. So Colter has all of these special skills. He's survivalist. His dad taught him all these things. He was really hard on him, but he taught him a bunch of useful tricks or whatever. All these skills and abilities, and I think it would be cool to find Colter going into a crime scene or whatever it might be. Maybe get a call, and he's trying to find this woman who's gone missing or whatever, and then he realizes a little bit too late that he's contaminated the scene, and they're pinning it on him. So now he's got to run, a la The Fugitive kind of, and use all of those skills to flee the police and flee the feds and all that. I think that would be kind of cool. So we have a bunch of different ideas of where we're going to see Colter doing similar things, but in the different scenarios.
So when you see that in season 3, just know that it originated
You heard it here
You
first.
heard it here
That's right.
first. We're breaking news here.
That's right.
Thank you for being here, Justin.
Thank you for having me.